Yes Have Some podcast is brought to you by Carnivorous Creations, your one-stop shop for all of your Proton Pack building needs. If you're in the market for a Proton Pack, head to carnivorouscreations.com. That's carnivorous with a K. You're going to find aluminum motherboards, resin parts, fiberglass shells, and a whole lot more. Find them on Facebook at Carnivorous Creations or head straight to carnivorouscreations.com, remember carnivorous with a K, and get started on an authentic, screen-accurate Proton Pack.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
We got one!
It's time for another episode of Yes Have Some podcast.
Look at him in really bad shape. Come on, please, please.
Your weekly pop culture therapy session.
Give me. I need.
Subscribe on iTunes by searching for Yes Have Some in the iTunes store or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/YesHaveSomeCast.
Sick vandalism. That is a deliberate mutilation of a public service message.
And now, hold on to your butts and get ready to get stressed with your hosts, Craig Goldberg, Abigail Gardner, and Jacob Walsh.
We're mutants. There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Don't know.
They don't know.
What they don't know, we know.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 71 of Yes Have Some podcast. My name is Craig Goldberg. I am here, as always, with my wonderful, beautiful... I haven't done that in a while.
Whoa, wonderful and beautiful.
I need
co-host.
more adjectives. I need more.
Wonderful, beautiful, stupendous.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Attractive.
Yes,
Good.
I like it.
That's a good one.
I'll take it.
Yellow.
No.
Yeah.
That's just a color.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Who you calling?
Callow. I
Callow.
thought that was a compliment.
What's happening?
We just made a Mallrats
These
and a
went
Back to the
bad.
Future reference. It was
Way
great.
back. It was good.
Abigail Gardner, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Wait, did you just say how are you guys doing?
I'm okay.
How are you guys? Yeah, she's doing great, obviously.
Yeah, I'm doing so good.
How you guys are doing. Jacob Walsh, how are you doing, man?
I am very well, thank you.
That's
Very well. Well, welcome to the Yes Have Some podcast.
Thank you.
To
Oh, wait,
you.
you're not talking to
No,
me? You're talking to them?
everybody.
You're talking to me?
Jake.
To everybody.
Okay.
Right off the bat, this is what I got to say. Thank you so much to our amazing listeners. Last week's episode, our It review, was officially our most downloaded episode ever.
Well,
People
did much
Almost
like the
as
movie
well as
itself.
the movie. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
Thinking I made
it
it
has
into-
made about $300 million, and we have made thousands and thousands of downloads.
Which equates to one very big dinner that we're
We're
going to
gonna
go
get,
to.
guys. The dinner will be just.
Oh, it's going to be big, y'all.
It's
Any
where,
excuse for a big dinner.
where are we going? Lay this out for me. A little Yes Have Some fan fiction.
Either salad buffet or vegan Chinese food. You
Okay.
pick.
God, can we do both?
Do both. Do a bang bang.
Double dinner.
Oh, sweet tomatoes
God.
and Chinese food. I'm down.
Jake, you know about the Bang Bang, right?
No,
back to
I
back?
don't.
So
I don't even watch that show.
I
It's
think it
from
was on Louis,
Yeah,
like
it's
Louis
Louis
C.K. His
Okay.
TV show. They did a thing where it's called a Bang Bang. It's where you go eat a big lunch, and then you immediately leave the restaurant and go to a different restaurant and eat lunch again.
Like a second lunch. Bang
That's
bang.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
I've done that. I've done that for like breakfast for sure. but-
right when
Yeah.
you eat breakfast at like 11, and then you're like, well, it's time for lunch. So
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
get a
gonna
second
lie
one
to
to take for later,
you.
right?
No, but in all seriousness, thank you so much to our listeners and to any new listeners out there who may have found us searching for a review of it, or for people
Mm-hmm.
talking about Scary Sewer Clowns, which also would have been a better name
Yeah.
for the movie.
I think that's better. It's
what they should've
alliteration.
called it.
I think
Maybe
Stephen
the
King
second
should have
part.
thought more.
I bet there's going to be some foreign remake or like a bootleg version
Whoa.
called Scary Sewer Clowns.
Yeah.
I hope so.
right.
Or we can just make that one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say Weekend at Scary Sewer Clown. Bernie's.
That's
wait,
the one that we're making.
Wait,
yeah.
so it's Weekend at Bernie's, but
They've
Pennywise
got to
is
prop
dead.
Pennywise up the whole time and act like he's alive. I think it's great.
Weekend at Penny's.
It's a total flip.
I like it.
We get it finished.
John,
John, you're capable. Get on it.
Yeah.
Pennies?
Thank you, John. Do you remember the second? Is it the second Weekend at Bernie's where when the music plays, he dances?
Yes, it's like they do the voodoo. That's always the one that I watched. That was the funnier one to me. It
Yeah.
was Weekend at Bernie's.
You know, the first one they're just carrying around a dead guy, but the second one really upped the ante. He starts
He really
dancing.
loosened up.
he
really developed
going for
his
the goal.
character.
Well, cool. So, yeah, thank you, everybody, for checking us out last week's episode. If you, for some reason, missed it, go go to iTunes, check it out, download it. You can link off Facebook, yeshavesomecast.com.
Drop a star.
Drop
like 5 of them. Why not 5?
Yeah, we talked about it last week, and I won't harp on it too long this week, but it does really help us a lot, guys, to leave those reviews and those star ratings on iTunes. Maybe 5 stars, maybe not 3.
Maybe 5.
We won't go there. Hashtag, what was it? Too many eggs on the basket.
Too much eggs on the basket.
Too much eggs on the basket. If you don't know what we're talking about, that's because we're playing a little
update.
A little
would
inside
make you
baseball.
busy and known for the podcast.
Yes, have some. Facebook Group Therapy is our Facebook group. We had a lot of fun in there this week talking about it and talking about all sorts of stuff. So go check that out. But guys, here's the thing. We just did an interview, which our audience is about to hear, with Carlos Huante. Now, if you don't know who Carlos Huante is, he is a concept artist, and basically what Abby called him, he's a creature designer.
He's a monster inventor. Yeah.
He invents monsters. This guy, Carlos Huante, Jake connected with him this week. We asked him on the show, and wow, we just had an awesome talk with him. He worked on It. He's worked on Prometheus. His first job ever was doing design work for the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, concept art for Real Ghostbusters.
And
he's in our wheelhouse. Like, he's in our nook, and he is an awesome dude.
Yeah,
like,
if you
his
like,
body of work is impressive.
If you are a fan of the things we talk about as far as movies go, he's worked on everything. He's done work with the Universal monsters, Godzilla. He's worked with amazing directors. We talked about Ridley Scott. We talked about Prometheus. We talked a ton about It and Pennywise and the work he did on that. So it's a really great conversation. We had a lot of fun. And it's cool because not only does he do, he does creature design and he draws monsters basically, but he also does sequences. And we, I don't want to spoil it. It's all in the interview.
Don't spoil it.
I'm
It's
not gonna
coming
spoil
up.
it.
It's coming up like immediately.
It's coming up literally when we're done talking. You will hear us talking again, but there'll be a fourth person, Carlos Huante. But before we get to that, I do want to say you're going to want to check out his artwork. And the main 2 places you can do that are on Instagram. So you're going to want to go to Carlos_Huante. That's spelled Huante. Carlos Huante on Instagram. And then he's got his other page with a lot of his personal sketches and just some really amazing design work. And that's going to be at Gallery Anatom. That's GALLERYANATOM. And of course, we'll link to those.
And you're going to want to see his It sketchbook, which he has 5 videos up that he goes and flips through the pages slowly. And those are amazing. I've watched them several times and we talk about them. So
actually, before we get to the interview, Jake, why don't you set it up? I mean, how did you... the thing was, we had all seen his artwork before, but like you said when we talked to him, we didn't put 2 and 2 together that this was the same person doing this stuff.
As soon as I started seeing the stuff, I was like, wait, I've seen this before. Oh, he worked on this. I just came across his artwork, I think, on Instagram, just on the Explore page. My Explore page on Instagram is basically just full of It stuff. And I've just been spending hours just looking through, finding cool stuff. And I just happened to see some artwork and I was like, what is this? I click on it and it was a video of him going through his It sketchbook. He put together almost a full sketchbook of just stuff for the new film that he worked on. And, it's pretty out there stuff. It's pretty crazy looking. We kind of started talking, had a back and forth going. And that's when I found out all of these things he's worked on, and I started putting two and two together and being like, whoa, he drew this, he did this. And so that was where it came from.
It's like an he talks about it. He's been doing this for 30 years. And like we said, he got his start on Real Ghostbusters. And he's basically touched all of these properties that we love, all these things we talk about, everything, like we said, from Alien all the way up, or Prometheus and It and Blade Runner and Batman Forever, and we touch on everything.
And he was a fan of those properties before working on them. He loved Alien, so he's one of us, at least in the beginning.
He's one of us. He's super passionate. Yeah. Not gonna lie, he's got some really strong opinions about the current state of
and I like it,
of art in Hollywood and the differences. Well, like I said, we can't spoil it, guys. Come on, we're not going to give away.
We're getting into it immediately.
But awesome. Thank you so much to Carlos for hanging out with us for over an hour. We just had a really good time. So that interview's coming up now. And we'd love to get some feedback from our listeners once you guys check it out. Come to facebook.com/yeshavesomecast. Come to Facebook, Yes Have Some. group therapy. That's where we have all of our conversations. That's where we're breaking everything down. Have a little fun.
24/7.
24/7.
Stressing out.
Never stop.
It's good.
Those
We'll party.
notifications
Never
are just
stops.
popping
Love
off
it.
all the time. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoy because we had a lot of fun. So, Carlos Huante, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you stopping by to chat for a few minutes, or maybe hours. You never know. This could go. This could be days.
Is that a threat?
It's a threat. You keep going.
Days.
We could keep you a while.
It's that's what Pennywise is. He's taken the fear of a long form podcast.
Yeah, got it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's sucking it in.
Yeah. No, but Carlos, thank you. So, yeah, Jake reached out to you this week, and this all started. So we've been talking about it, and more specifically, some of the production art that's been coming out. And once a movie comes out, you start seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff. And you had done some incredible concept art for the movie. But I guess before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and where you came from, and all that.
Well, I mean, long story short. Thanks for having me on first. Cool thing. I work in the film industry, designing creatures. You know what I mean? When I got in many years ago now, the position that I have now did not exist. Of course, there were no computers back then, which is dating me now. There was no digital at all. I mean, my wife that I just got married to had back in when I started, I got married and then I started working essentially because I saw the desperation and need to make money, in the fact that I was getting married. So I decided to jump all the way into this industry that I had tried prior to getting married and hated. It's just the politics were overwhelming. And she had this computer that was like this weird, ran on DOS,
Oh, yeah.
Floppy disks and everything. And I was Commander Kratos playing these dot games on there. You know what I mean? And it's weird that the computers have come so far now that they're like now integrated even into what I do. Back then they weren't, and so we drew everything, painted everything, painted with real paint markers and sculpted everything in clay, which I still do to this day. But essentially walking into an industry that didn't exist, creating it by pushing in to the industry hard and suggesting to them that they needed people to design that were strictly designers, freelance artists. So,
okay,
you know what I mean. And because you understand that the industry was filled with people that did everything. So everyone was a generalist. There was no such thing as a designated kind of like a position that for designers.
Got it.
I'm trying to grab this whole thing and just kind of put it together for you guys, which I hope I'm making some sense here.
No, absolutely. I mean, I feel like
there wasn't a position for like a monster inventor, which is kind of what you are. Like you sit and you create the monsters, right?
That's right.
That's very cool
right.
that you kind of created that for yourself, and I do see what you're saying.
I mean, you see that in a lot of industries too, where things, people become like jack of all trades, and then that really kind of hurts the work. And
we're kind of going back to that now in Hollywood, where now with these corporations and now with digital effects, right? Mm-hmm. It's now become giant corporations again of these VFX houses, right? Mm-hmm. With ILM now being this giant digital place, you got a Digital Domain, all these giant visual effects houses that are out there. And they have now, when you go work for a place like that, it's a corporation. You're working. You have to take a drug test to get a job now,
right?
And fill out an application.
Yeah.
And you have to behave properly. Artists are crazy people.
Oh yeah. We know all about that crazy life. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been in shops where it's drug time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Boy.
These are famous drug shops. These are famous makeup shops.
Right.
Yeah. Of
And that's the way they operate. It wasn't a thing, you know. It was just the way these people live. I never participated because it's never my thing. But I would just they invite me in every night, you know. And I go, no, you know, you guys, I got to, you know, responsibilities, got to go home.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Just have fun. I'll talk to you guys later. You know, very funny. But how are they going to organize real artists to work in a corporate kind of you know, environment? So they don't get real artists in there anymore.
If I can interject real quick, I mean, how much do you think that's like you see, like you said, modern filmmaking? It's like a conglomerate. You've got these effects houses, and they work for the studios, and they're churning out. You know, you've got artists working on projects that they might not even care about. How much do you think that what you're talking about is actually negatively affecting the final product that we're seeing in, you know, your mainstream movies?
Taking away from the originality or creativity.
Well, I mean, I mean, how many modern day creatures outside of, say, Pennywise, right? Outside of Pennywise, which was created with makeup, so analog, not digital, right?
Ooh, what a concept!
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Okay, so outside of that, what memorable creatures have you had in the last, say, 20 years?
Jake,
there's not a lot.
Go
Not
for
a
it,
lot.
Jake, right?
The only thing that pops in my head is just like some of the stuff that like Guillermo del Toro is doing, and that's because he's into the way, because it's makeup, and it's because that's just the only thing I could think of, which proves your point.
Exactly, it's a makeup. It was done by DDT, I think, in Spain, and then some of it by Spectral Motion, some of the guys there, right? So these are all makeup shops that are doing that. These are traditional artists that are the crazy people that are making this stuff, okay?
Yep.
So the digital effects house is literally all what they call artists there are technicians, you know what I mean? That know how to use the software. So the stuff that's being made now and actually designed on using a lot of these digital software packages are technicians. And that's who's designing the stuff now, because the artists won't touch it. They don't like it.
Right.
I wonder if that's also why you get so much stuff like. I wonder if that's also why you get so many CGI creatures in completely different movies that all kind of look super similar, and it's just because everyone who's doing the work is following the same kind of pattern or all kind of learned to do the same thing. Yeah, and everything ends up just looking the same.
Yeah, well, the imagination is not really there.
Right.
They just know it works. There's no, they're not really trying for anything different. They're trying to do what works. And honestly, if it's led by, I mean, we're kind of going off subject, but let's
go.
No, let's go. I like it. I like where we're going.
Because let me tell you something. I can rant about this pretty heavily.
No, I'm digging it.
Okay, because look, you get a bunch of technicians in there, and all they know is to regurgitate what works. You know what I mean? And so you get like, they only know what they've seen, and you have animation leads that only want to work with stuff that they know how to animate, which is what they see, stuff they can reference, right? So they're not pushing the envelope either. And then you have, so you get those guys, all the technicians leading, and the guy that's supposed to be the artist is this guy that knows how to use the software down at the bottom. And they treat him like he's a second-grade citizen. I mean, that guy is nothing. You know what I mean? The production loves him because he's very unoffensive, right? He'll do whatever they ask. He'll do anything they ask because he has a job. So this guy will do anything he can, and he seems successful. And then you have a bunch of kids that are in school that want to emulate that guy because they think that guy's successful. And you have a bunch of watered-down nothings being bred, right? And so it is just there's this stuff is growing like fungus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mediocrity is all over the place. Because there's no real artists that are actually there pushing the envelope.
Yeah, if you're not tormented yourself by your own monsters, then where are the original monsters going to come from? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going through your own stuff, or like, that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. So I like that. Like, if you're just a drone that's working in, drawing or imitating stuff that, is already out there, then I'm not nearly as interested in that. So that's why I dig your stuff. So. No,
if you're not laughing when you're designing your stuff and thinking they'll never make this, right?
Right?
Right. You need to be able to say that every time you design something, you should say, oh, they'll never make this. And you're laughing while you're designing. If you're not there, you're not a guy. You're not the designer. You should just sit over there in the corner and let the adults handle the stuff.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, I like it.
We're getting deep right off the bat.
I like
here
it.
on this.
Burn.
Good.
Fire
I
up
love
the
it.
burn unit.
I have my mug. I just slammed it on the table.
Oh, there, good.
Oh.
No, I mean this is a constant topic that we've kind of come back to as we follow different productions. Has been the you don't want to simplify it as digital effects versus like you say analog effects or practical
animatronic.
Yeah. But we talk about it a lot, and like we really covered the new Ghostbusters movie last year, very heavily. We're all huge Ghostbusters fans, and we knew people on the production, and we were kind of tracking it as it went along. And the early word was that there was going to be a lot of those more classic practical effects, and it wasn't going to rely as heavily on the digital stuff. And when the movie came out, it was pretty. People kept saying this looks like Scooby Doo, probably because the people who worked on Scooby Doo also made Ghostbusters and Haunted Mansion and everything else. But yeah,
I haven't seen. I haven't seen the second the Ghostbusters movie.
Answer the Call.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
You're doing okay.
I wanted. Yeah,
okay.
I wanted to, but the cast was perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell they could screw that up.
Yeah.
But from everyone I heard, they screwed it up. I don't know how you screw that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that.
I mean, I would definitely.
There's a very long history on how they screwed it up.
Yeah, we started a podcast.
It kind of goes back pretty far. So.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I say I just can't. I don't know how you screwed that one up.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we were saying about the Dark Tower. So, and I'm in that position. I've not even seen that. So.
Well, let me tell you. Okay. I was supposed to work on the Ghostbusters Busters movie. I actually got the call for it.
Did you?
But
answer?
I ended up on. I was working on Skull Island, I think, at the time.
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
I didn't get a chance to work on Ghostbusters, but I was supposed to. I told them I could, and I was gonna, but I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Something happened with the phone calls, whatever. Yeah, you mentioned something else though. After Ghostbusters, it was the Dark Tower, right? I was supposed to Dark Tower. I was supposed to work on that too, and I met with Ron Howard, who was directing that actually, and that one had a lot of iterations actually.
Yeah, I mean,
that one seemed like it was in trouble a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Howard was attached to direct. I don't know if he ended up producing it, but that
it would have been better if he had directed it because he has a lot of order to the way he handles stuff. That story needed order, in control of that chaos, to make it work.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing we talked about. I mean, how do you take a 7-part book, a massive book series that's thousands and thousands of pages, and whittle it down to an hour and a half? Like you wouldn't do like the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and just churn out a hour and a half popcorn flick. So,
I didn't even see that one.
Yeah,
the interest just wasn't there. It didn't pull me in.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned getting the call for Ghostbusters. So that how does that work? I mean, you've got. You've been in the industry for a long time. Do you have do you network? Is your name out there, and then different directors or productions will just reach out to you? And what does that process look like?
I know a lot of people in the industry. Obviously, after 30 plus years doing just one thing, and that's designing creatures, right? So everyone kind of knows me. There are new people that don't know me, but the guys that I do know refer me around, and so people call me. And so I get calls like this one. I think that one came through a director that I know, Rob Letterman, who I've known since he was a VFX guy, and now he's a director. He did Goosebumps. And he's done. I think he did Gulliver's Travels. And a couple other movies. Anyway, really nice guy, Rob. I like him quite a bit. I've known him for a very long time since he and a couple other guys were part of a group called the Propeller Heads. They were like this visual effects group that were working, and they were the ones helping to get Shrek off the ground back in the day. So. There's people like that I know. I mean, I've known forever, and they just refer me around, and that's essentially how I got the call for Ghostbusters, because Rob had told them to give me a call because they were looking for people on that one. So they called me up, and I said yes, but it never, it kind of fizzled out, I guess. I don't know what the heck happened.
Well, that's kind of a
neither do we.
That's kind of an accurate statement for Ghostbusters Answer the Call as a whole. So. No one's quite sure what happened.
Well, I worked on the animated series back in the day, and that's what I was telling them.
Duly noted.
So what kind of stuff did you what did you create for that for the cartoon?
Oh God, I try to remember back. I worked on the Sam Haines episode.
Oh, you are speaking my language.
Yeah,
I like
it. It was a pretty wacky one. I designed sequences. I think he conjures up like a tornado of all of the ghosts spinning up around him, and he's going up in the air. I designed that whole sequence for that one. I designed several seasons, actually, Ghostbusters. Wow. That was a big show for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, and it's funny.
That's super cool. Go ahead, Craig.
No, I was just gonna say in the Ghostbusters fan community, I mean, the Real Ghostbusters is held very dearly. Mm-hmm. People have
deep nostalgic ties.
It's not even it is nostalgic, but like people still watch those. I mean, they're all on Netflix now, and it's people are
are they?
Yeah,
they're developing a new animated Ghostbusters movie at Sony, and there's a huge group of people that just let's go back, let's do the Real Ghostbusters. It's what it worked. Yeah. We can make it work again, but that's probably not going to happen.
No, it was so much fun. That was a great one to really just cut my teeth on and let myself go. I mean, I was 24 at the time, I think, when I got on that show, and the director just literally just let me go. What was that?
I live next to a busy street.
Yeah, that's Jake lives
ambulance
in
dispatch.
It's a very dangerous neighborhood. We've been trying to get him out of there.
It's very scary.
Oh man.
But Ghostbusters was pretty much the way to walk into this industry as a designer for me. Was a let loose kind of a job, man. I mean, it was just anything goes. I mean that pencils come to life. It was like the Japanese kind of items come to life kind of a thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and it was just anything. You have to put a face and make this thing look alive, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
wasn't a lot of limitations for you on that.
No, I mean I went straight from that job into doubling up. At the same time, I ended up with 2 jobs, like any real Mexican does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude,
I had 2 jobs straight out of the gate, that one, and I got a job at Dynamation, designing dinosaurs for museums.
Oh,
that's very cool.
So I had superstructure, super study, comparative anatomy, and mayhem all at the same time.
Yeah.
And just married. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, Jake knows all about that marriage. I love it. That's very, very cool.
I'll tell you, man. We were sitting here looking through all your stuff, like when I found you for the first time, and I was like, oh wow, look at all this cool It stuff, and I'm like, whoa, this It stuff is amazing. Scroll, oh cool, some Prometheus stuff, some Alien stuff, and then I'm like, okay, here's a Godzilla he made. What is happening? Who is this man?
Yeah, right.
It's definitely up all of our alleys.
Yeah,
and we've got a bunch
everything.
of them.
Yes.
We're like the cross section of Ghostbusters, monsters, dinosaurs. We literally, so Abby and myself were married this year and went on a 2-week road trip, but we brought Jake along.
We brought Jake with us.
And we just went to museums to look at dinosaurs.
Exactly.
That's very, very funny. Congratulations.
Yeah, we went to the Stanley Hotel.
Congratulations to the three of us.
To the 3 of us.
Okay.
On our podcast.
That is very, very, very funny.
But
it was
yeah,
fun.
So
a lot of dinosaurs.
Let's I want to talk about It, because that's obviously the movie is
that's what everyone's talking about.
Extremely I guess well. I don't think that describes it. It's doing very well.
Understatement.
It's doing pretty amazingly.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with the work that you did, and what what was any of it used, and what does that process look like?
I got a call again. I got a call, and I'm not sure from how that came about. Actually, I don't remember this one, but I think it was from the VFX in Quebec, where they were, or Montreal, where they were doing all the visual effects out there. And they called me up and they asked me if I wanted to work on the project. And I said, of course. I said yes. How cool would that be?
Right.
And so I knew the director. I had met him. Andy Muschietti. I think it's Muschietti, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't ask me.
We've had a hard time with that.
We're working through it.
Yeah. I hope if he listens, he's going to be like, "Oh, they're funny, but they've butchered me so many times." So I'm not doing the show.
I just call him Andy.
That's
Andy, because his name is Italian. It doesn't make sense to me because he's from Venezuela, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got along really well. I met him at Universal. He hired me for a week or two to work on his version of The Mummy. That was the version that was being made before the one that they made with Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
His version was a true horror film. I mean, it was out there. As dark as it is, imagine a mummy movie that was that dense and dark. Okay?
Sounds fun.
It was actually, it was pretty screwed up and weird, even for me. It was good. So we got along really well. His movie didn't get made. Universal wanted to they're doing their own commercial destruction of all the Universal monsters.
That's a perfect way to put that.
Yeah.
We like that.
They're just going to rape. They're going to rape their own property.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We all saw
not
The
good.
Mummy, and we did an episode on it. The Mummy was just very bad. The Tom Cruise one.
It was.
Yeah, it's just it wasn't even about the mummy. It was just I didn't.
It was
it
a
wasn't.
total
I didn't
waste
know
of
what
a
it was.
monster. Yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah. Anyway, so I knew the director, so he wanted me to work with him again. Obviously, called me on this. I think we talked maybe a couple times. Essentially, what he through the VFX guy, literally just had me drawing for the end sequence and wanted everything just me to go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want any production drawings. He just wanted me to draw. Okay. And he wanted all these loose drawings. And I said, okay. I mean, I tried to do a couple production drawings based on the reference that they shot video of these two contortionists that they had in the studio that they were shooting, you know. And they had all this footage. They sent it to me, and I go, okay, that's cool, you know. But he didn't like that my drawings started to look limited by these people, right? He said, no, throw all that out. Just continue doing what you were doing. So I mean, it was like 2 months of me just going nuts, you know. It was. I looked forward every time I got to my drawing table. I didn't even feel like drawing all my own stuff, you know. Yeah. Because I mean, I felt like I was working on my own stuff.
Right. You're just like falling deep into
You're in the deadlights.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Andy draws, and he gave me that idea, you know, for what that would be. He also had an idea for the way that this character would be regurgitating himself but retaining his shape on all. Like if you were to get yourself like and just get on, you know, your all fours, and your mouth is open, and you're regurgitating yourself out, but you're staying contained within that shape that you are as a person. That's what we were supposed to have at the end of the movie. He had these two ideas, and from there, I just went crazy. You know what I mean? Essentially, it was just a free-for-all based on those two ideas.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? So you say you work for 2 months doing these drawings. You talked to Andy a couple times.
I thought you meant what does it look like to physically push yourself out of yourself
where
you're on all fours? Because that's crazy.
You just start drawing. I mean, honestly, it was just like, okay, I feel like I need to do more on this thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I mean, and then you do something, and your hand does something weird, and you look at the way. Oh, yeah, I need longer arms. Yeah. What if the arms just came out and they were like so bent out, and they looked like they had no joints? You know what I mean? They were just waving out there, but it's still, you're not sure if it's just like a bend on your lens in your eyes, if you're really seeing this, or if it's if he's really doing that. I wanted it to feel like you weren't too sure if there was something going on, kind of like when you think the moon is really large, when it's just it's a bend on the lens, you know what I mean, that you're looking through of the atmosphere, and it makes things look bigger. But I was thinking of that, say, in the room where these kids were, that the atmosphere maybe could even be bent, and so their perception of Pennywise would be, different.
Like an
You know what I mean? It's
optical
not
illusion.
real.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
you would think that he's bending all over the place when he's just, he's not. Maybe he is. I don't know.
Right.
So I was just playing with that.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea, and that kind of ties into the book a little bit with like just all the weird realities and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
how it's almost like a fun house and like Nebel and like things shift. Yeah.
I think anybody who's maybe going to be listening to this, we should throw your Instagram pages out there, because you've been going through and posting videos of just like you have this whole sketchbook of just it, and it's wild, crazy, insane. Like just everything you're saying, it's just like whoa. Like just thinking like this could have been in the movie. I don't know what this is, but this could have been in the movie.
Yeah, Carlos, go. We'll plug you, all throughout the show. But go ahead and where's the best place for people to find you? I know you've got a couple Instagram pages.
Yeah, the pro site is the one that's by my name, Carlos Huante, on Instagram. And then the Gallery Anatom is more of my personal sketchbook kind of thing. I sell my books on Gallery Anatom, and Gallery Anatom is the name of my website that sells all my personal work.
Okay.
So those are the two and it's just a sketch page. I don't do any real finished work there, because it's just, I'm just screwing around. I do enough finished work for the industry.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just want to sit and just sketch. I mean, for me, sketching is an art form, and I like the loose kind of energy of a drawing. I think it gets lost in a lot of clean stuff that we do. I mean, it's hard. That's another thing. I mean, it's a different type of discipline to kind of keep the energy of the loose drawing and the clean thing. But I like to stay in the world of the, the loose drawings for my Gallery Anatom page. So that's the difference between the two. One's pro and one's just a sketchbook. Cool. Essentially.
Cool. And we'll link to both of those and promote them on our social media pages, because it's people are gonna want to check this stuff out. And it's interesting what you were just saying about staying loose and that being kind of. You said you do enough, finished product for the industry, but it sounds like your experience with it, at least at first, you were able to stay loose and just go crazy. And
in order to create original ideas, you have to be loose and like test things out.
Well, I mean, that's why it kept me there. I mean, it kept my interest to the point where I was literally excited to go to my drawing table.
Yeah,
I rarely get there. You know what I mean?
Right. I imagine. Sometimes it's just work, right?
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love everything that I do. All right, but to get excited like that, where I love, like, wow, man, I can't wait to just stop eating and get to the drawing table. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
do you? So once you're done after that 2-month period and you turn in everything, how long ago is that? So the movie just came out in October. Is this a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was last year.
It was last year. And then once you turn in the work, do you have any idea of what's going to be used? And no. And then
that's it. Like that's you pretty much turn it in and you just don't really hear anything until you see the movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Does it end up like that pretty much with every project?
The only movie where the director literally called me and was very nice to remember me after I was done working on the project was Denis Villeneuve on Arrival.
Okay.
Denis is a really nice guy, and not that the rest aren't, but Denis is very personal in that he would really talk to me, about stuff. And he called me to let me know what they had to do to the visual effects and the surface of the creature, and I was not, he goes, "You're not going to like it. I'm sorry, but we had to do it." And I'm like, all right. Okay. And those are moments where I wish that I could have been there to tell him, "Listen, man, I have this guy. We can make this thing in a week. It won't cost you a whole company to do it. We can do this in a week. We can give you the asset. You guys will have a really killer asset, right? And then you guys can, rig it and do everything that you have to do, but at least the asset will be killer. You know what I mean?
Right.
I saw what they did in the making of, and I'm not sure if that was the final model. If it was diabolically bad. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the final model, so I don't want to say anything too bad about
Right.
it. Because I don't know who did it, and I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
But we did one in a week, and I did a digital printout just to show what we could do. And I had it at Monsterpalooza last year. And it was beautiful. I mean, we did it I had the guy do it in a week, my friend,
That's amazing. So basically, like, what happens is, like, they'll get on set or whatever, and they're like, oh, we can't do this. Do this in digital. And they just get their people to just do it. And that's what happens with, like...
Yeah, but I don't know who they get. So I have no way, and I know nothing about what's going to happen. Essentially, That's what they kept trying to tell me on Prometheus. The producer would call me up and said, hey, we need you back. And I'm like, okay, we had to go ahead and doing this, and it's looking great. I mean, it's looking fantastic. And I'm like, all right. So I see the movie, and I'm literally ill for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like it's weird when you go back and look at some of that stuff. Yeah, me too, man. I had an issue with that film, but like
it's like someone punched me in the stomach. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh my
God. Sick. I was physically sick for 2 days.
Well, could you talk about that a little bit? I mean, and all joking aside, like when you put your, when you're passionate about something, when this is your work, this is your lifeblood and how you make a living, and then you see something on screen that is just not anything close to your vision. I mean, are there any specifics that were changed in Prometheus that? What made you sick? What
was stressing you out? Is what we're trying to say.
We talk about getting stressed out here all the time. So what stressed you out about Prometheus?
Well, look, I mean, it's not even just my vision. It's just of what is worthy of the property, right? Mm-hmm. What is worthy of the director that is directing the film, right? Mm-hmm. And what we had discussed. So all those things, right? You've created now this kind of volume of creative force that's going in one direction, right? That's around you. You know what I mean? And so you're going with it. You're walking with it. And it's a spigot that's been turned on, okay? So all of this force is going in one direction from your perspective, right? As you're working with the director, your client, right? And you're going in one direction. Someone else comes in and says, what if we fix this? And for no reason, there's no rules. They don't know anything of the history of anything, and they just do that. And then another guy comes in and they fix it because they're not able to understand what the vision was. And they're literally maybe their abilities are limited and they're not able to animate, say, something like that because they are not very good at what they do, and you get a bunch of those, in following each other. And then you end up with this chain of mediocrity watering everything down. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's hard to keep the same vision for something that's like unseen almost because you're working on something that you're creating. So I get that.
Yeah, but you're not being invited to art direct, which is the problem right now. And we can tangent actually on this for just a couple minutes. Hold on. Okay, so the problem right now is that in makeup effects you always had a Rick Baker, Rob Bottin type of guy, right? So you had a character lead on the project, okay? Mm-hmm. Now you have visual effects, right? Digital visual effects. The character leads are not there anymore. Now you have a technician that's in charge, okay? Mm-hmm. There's no more character lead. They need to fill that spot again. Right. That spot needs to be filled because, they have art directors, but they don't have anybody that understands creatures. Instead, they have it led by a technician who actually knows nothing about characters, only knows the technical aspects of how things work, like how does a joint work. They know anatomy, and they go and study, and they learn little key phrases, that creature guys use. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They learn all these and they throw them around and act like they really know what they're talking about. They don't.
Yeah, they talk like you, but they're not one of you. Right.
No.
Now,
they're not.
Carlos, let me ask you this. So, I'm really glad you brought that up. So, when you see something like Alien Covenant came out this year, and it didn't do so well. And, and Hollywood is very much like, we can't believe it. It's a big franchise. Why didn't people like it? I thought people liked they were nostalgic about Alien, and
we hit all the right beats.
Yeah, we
right?
did everything we thought we were supposed to do, and then you see something like It come out and just take the world by storm. And I very much always get the feeling that whatever conversations are happening with the executives in the studios, even when it feels very obvious why It works. When I say It, I mean the movie It. I feel like there's probably still having the wrong conversations, because It works because, in my opinion, it's faithful to or captures the spirit of the book, and it's respectful of the source material. And
it has fantastic characters and a fantastic monster.
Yeah, fantastic characters, fantastic writing, and then you do have, Pennywise as a clown. Obviously there's digital effects, but the first time you see him, you're looking at something tangible that you could see and feel and fear. And
but the key to all of that though is that it's authentic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That thing was genuine. It was a genuine approach, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't trying to be anything. That is a true vision that was allowed to happen. That's the difference. Say Alien, the first movie, not the second one, right? Mm-hmm. The first Alien film was authentic, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Aliens was a fun action movie, but honestly, even back then, when I first saw the poster, I thought, oh, okay, here we go. You know what I mean?
Dude, yes.
I mean, that's the first thing. My first reaction was to the poster. I thought, oh, okay, here we go. She's got a big gun. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, already, I wasn't even ready for the tidal wave. You know what I mean? For the thickness of that water that was going to hit me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? For the decades and decades to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, so Alien was authentic. It was authentic. And you're right. What happens is that the studio heads are businessmen. They don't know anything, but they think they do, they don't know enough to know the difference between authentic and what is a moneymaker. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They think that a moneymaker should be, a brand, is a brand. You know what I mean? Branding is a big word. They love to use brand, everywhere. They're business guys, and they don't. Their whole thing is all about just making money. They don't know anything about what we do.
Yeah, they can't check for a pulse and know if something has a beating heart that people will connect to.
They don't know the difference between authentic and commercial. Mm-hmm. Andy's vision of it was authentic. Mm-hmm. I mean. Yeah.
It was like a passion project for him. It was something that he wanted to do. It's not like it's not like
it was real horror. It was a real horror movie. It wasn't trying. It wasn't doing any of the really kitschy things. There weren't any super sexy looking chicks in this thing. You know what I mean? He didn't have any stupid stuff in there. It was just about these kids, and the kids were actually really good.
Yeah,
they were great. I haven't seen that in I don't even know how long. It was just I couldn't believe I worked on a good one when I
thought.
So we don't forget, out of everything that you did, you're talking about the final scene and all the work that you did any of your stuff, did you see it in there? Were you able to pick out your, what you worked on?
Just a couple things. I mean, honestly, the end sequence, from what I understand, afterwards, I found out from one of the guys that I spoke to or corresponded with that the sequence was literally stopped halfway through. They ran out of money, or they didn't want to spend any more money on it. So the end sequence, as crazy as it was supposed to be, was essentially stopped. From what I understand.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling they're going to have a little bit more money to play with on the second one.
Yeah. Maybe they'll issue back up.
I think
Answer that
they
call.
will.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But so that's the difference, though. I mean, that's why the Covenant and Prometheus movie. I mean, Ridley wanted to do his own thing with Prometheus. He wanted to go off and away from Alien, and create something else. But the studio and the fans, the Alien fans, were expecting an Alien film, and so the very first script that I read for Prometheus was essentially a popcorn Alien film. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I mean, it was a terrible script. I mean, It was all aliens, and it was a bunch of guys just shooting aliens, everywhere. It was just boring as hell.
Oh my
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I went and met with Ridley the first time after reading that script. I went and met with him, and sat with him for 2 days, and he literally just told me his version of this, talked to me his version of the new script, and I go, wow, that's a lot better than the one that I just read.
Yeah.
Oh my! And God. then I got that script, and I really liked it. I still actually have a copy of it. It was pretty good. But when I saw the movie, the characters did not seem like the ones that I was reading about. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just didn't seem the same.
Our friend Damon Lindelof was involved. I know that.
Briefly.
I couldn't not stand the. How they make people so stupid and think that they're believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they have to. Like these characters, you don't have to fit into a mold. Like you can just be a human being who's part of this story. Like you don't. But I feel like it's like that thing of like, well, where's this type character and this archetype, and we got to have a stupid girl, we got to have a hot girl, we got to have a stupid guy, and it's just like, it's frustrating.
It was, I mean, Covenant. I literally just walked in. I walked in on one version of the film when it was called Paradise and Lost. Actually, it was called Paradise Lost, and worked on that, and then they shut it down. And then a year passed, and then they started it up again. And then it was called Covenant. I think it was still even called Paradise Lost, actually. And it became Covenant as I was working on it, which I only worked on for a couple months, I think. And then they literally shut the space. This is a Ghostbusters thing where they shut it down.
Shut this down.
And that was one big Twinkie. This is what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
When they shut that spigot, they shut me down creatively right as I was about to start. Needless to say, I had to buy a new phone after that conversation.
What?
Because I had all this energy going forward, and they shut me down and took the entire project to London. So even the design work, everything left. So everything took off, and I was like, wait a minute. I just designed these 2 sequences, and so I could design the stuff, and you guys are taking it away from me. I don't understand. So the sequences that I designed actually made it into the film, though, which is really, really weird. The guy on went in the ship with the thing coming out of his back.
Yeah.
I mean, that is almost exactly what I drew.
Wow.
And how does it work? Are you considered when they bring you on a project like that? Are you a contractor, or you're just freelance, and then you're paid? Are you paid up front for the work, or is it like what happens when they shut you down like that? They just pay
you and say thank you. See you later.
God, that's garbage. So what did you think? So I haven't. You said Prometheus made you violently ill. What did you think of Covenant? Because we all saw Covenant fairly recently, and all pretty much had mixed to negative feelings about it.
Yeah, no, I was less offended by Covenant than I was because of the creature work. The creature work actually offended me equally, I have to say.
Okay.
But since I wasn't as invested, say, creature design-wise, in Covenant, because they didn't allow me to go there, they essentially just bastardized what I had done for the first film. I mean, they took the Deacon, and the Deacon is just getting turned into all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't even know what to say about that. The Deacon was designed to come out of a man, never to come out of anything other than a man, and he was supposed to be man-sized, and it's supposed to be very clean. They completely, I don't know what they're doing. There's this weird bulbous thing that they're doing with the head, and they just screwed it all up. I wanted it to be very wicked. Like, I wanted it to feel very wicked. I don't know what that butthole mouth thing that they did. I don't know what to say.
That's a wicked butthole.
I don't know what to say. I know there's no other way for me to describe it.
Yeah, no, that's well said.
It's just this weird thing that they did, and I don't know, man. I have so many thoughts, that I'm speechless, to describe half of the things that I'm talking about. You know?
Right. No, I mean,
Yeah.
this is
We
really...
call that stress around here. So we totally
it's
get
some
it.
good stress. I mean, we talk about these things all the time, but like for us and our listeners, like we don't always get kind of your perspective. And I wouldn't even call this like behind the scenes. It's just you're out there working, creating these creatures, being obviously brought on to projects for properties that you care about. Like you're obviously
There's passion, right?
Yeah, you're passionate
So you're
about
invested.
what you're doing. You're passionate about Alien, and what you said was a very authentic film, and you're probably trying to recapture that and put your own spin on it, and to see it kind of bastardized is heartbreaking. But
Well, yeah, I don't think it's worthy of the director involved.
Right.
And that's what doubly angers me, is that there's a lot of these guys out there that are all, hugging each other because they worked on this movie. And I'm thinking, none of you should have been on this film. You know what I mean? They should have taken you.
Yeah.
They should have put in people that actually cared about the project and the director to make him look a certain way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to keep things, linked to that first film. In the quality level,
Yeah.
to literally work beyond your paycheck, to work, to care. You understand that what I'm saying here is offensive, though, to most people in these corporate offices.
Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed. You can't care about your work. You just have to do
Yeah.
what you're told.
Right.
You want
You know
checks
what
and
I mean?
balances.
So,
Yeah. You want
that's right.
accountability.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they don't like crazy people that care, because then
No.
you could actually end up with the passion and care, and then you might lose your temper.
But
You're
it's-
gonna get nuts.
But it's
Oh, I know
interest-
all about that. We get nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading something about James Gunn recently, and obviously he's had tons of success with Guardians of the Galaxy. But I guess a couple years ago he pitched, I guess what would have been an authentic throwback of Creature from the Black Lagoon to Universal, and from what I was reading, it was just like a big like, no, who the hell are you? Get out! Like, there's no way we would ever do this. But like, I imagine that it would have probably been pretty damn good. And then you see him go on to be successful, and then Hollywood's like, where'd this guy come from? He's like, there's people like this under your nose that if you just paid attention, and didn't and stopped wondering why Alien Covenant only made $60 million or whatever, like scratching your head, like there's
Learn how to spot authenticity.
now
right?
I'm getting mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're always mad. We stay mad.
Well, I mean, I mean, if you care about stuff, right, you tend to express yourself with a little bit of care, right?
Right.
And that's the way I say it. I mean, that's why I always like to watch interviews, like say with Bruce Lee. He seems like he's angry, but like he's not. He's just speaking and he's biting and chewing on the words. He cares about what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
I like to talk to people like that that are like that, that actually care. People are like to. There's this kind of thing where you're supposed to just be pleasant all the time. You know what I mean? And it's not. What do you get out of that? You know what I mean? So what you get? There's no effect. You're not affected by that. So there's no event that happened in that conversation. It is meaningless, and you will go away with nothing. I don't know.
No, preach. I'm like, yes, wave your freak flag and do your weird thing. Absolutely. Reach into the depths and explore and splash it on the page.
Care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to care a little bit.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that happened with Ghostbusters last year is that. So I don't know what I personally like The Force Awakens. I know there's people out there who don't like it, but what I did like was that even though J.J. Abrams is a huge director, and he maybe at this point he is one of those Hollywood types that we've been talking about, but I do feel like he was passionate about Star Wars and grew up as a fan and cared about the franchise. And it's like what you're saying. If people actually cared more about what they were working on, it's not just caring about like their work, but just being passionate about the project or the franchise or the property, or even if it's completely original work, just going in with a vision and not being like a drone. That would make my movie going experience so much better on a regular
And it might make
basis.
some more money. Yeah.
Well, it would. I mean, it's a general concept, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is just to say what you do, to put the time into what you're doing, and to care about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, to care about that thing that you're doing.
Right.
You know, people just kind of walk through life and they don't really care. You know what I mean? I don't know. I personally don't understand it. You know, if you don't care about it, then why do it? Do something else. Do something that you really, really care about it. You know, and just do that thing, man, and care about it. That's all.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
This is like I like this.
This is the best interview ever. Thank you. It's so motivational.
Carlos, what do you have any like projects or properties that you've always wanted to work on and haven't had the chance to that would be like your dream projects?
well, I got to work on. Well, when I got the call from Ridley and worked with him on the first Prometheus, working with Ridley was pretty much a big circle for me, being that I was 14 when the first film came out.
Right.
And I had to drag every aunt and uncle that came to visit from Mexico to the theater because I wasn't old enough to see it in the theater on my own. They wouldn't allow me in because it was rated R. So I had to drag every single adult that I could get my hand on. I mean, to take me to the movies, you know, and see this movie. So now that I got to work with Ridley on that, that was a big deal, regardless of what, you know, the movie, you know, turned out, you know, like, and, you know, the experience on it and working with him was phenomenal. Okay. And,
That's awesome.
yeah, and I, you know, the Star Trek films, I did work on the last Star Trek film, but it wasn't, I was rushed through so fast. I didn't know what I was doing on that film. I didn't know, and honestly, I don't feel like I delivered on that one because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. They just said, dude, you know, do something. We need something, you know, and we need it in 2 days. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I designing? Makeup or what is this? What am I drawing? You know, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just draw some really cool stuff.
Just draw it. 2 days.
You turn in a
Deadline.
portrait of. You just draw a picture of Leonard Nimoy. You're like, here, 2 days. I got it.
War.
Star Trek.
Yeah, I didn't even know what to do. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. Yeah, no, you know, I never worked on a Star Wars film, even though I was at ILM for over a decade. They never asked me to work on it, and I'm the character guy there. They never asked me to work on a Star Wars film. Okay, instead they had kids working on it, doing the characters. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, then you know, not all kids. They had Ian McKay there, who's a monster, and then so never worked on a Star Wars film. Would love to have worked on one. Maybe now would be an interesting time to work on one of them, you know,
Right.
because some of these directors are venturing off into these, you know, interesting stories, you know, outside of in the world, but not necessarily linked to the storyline, you know.
Right.
Which I like that. I like it because then it's just the science, you know, it's science fiction. Now you can, you know, go and have fun, science fiction, fantasy.
Right.
You're not beholden to other people's like designs.
Right. Although it seems now you think that, and then the directors keep getting fired. So
that's
maybe you know, maybe they got more control, or they're
Disney, you know, who knows, man.
Right.
I mean, Disney's a big corporation, man. I mean, they are honestly, you know, years and years ago when I was first trying to get into this industry, taking my portfolio into that place. I literally walked in and out of that place the first time because the lady was so rude at me at the front, just dropping my portfolio off. I literally couldn't take it. I just said, I'm not going to be talked to like this. I took my portfolio back and I walked out. And then I walked back again. I was invited. I dropped off. The guy comes to get me to interview me and doesn't look back. It doesn't say hello to me. He comes to get me and he just starts walking down the hall. I watched him walk away from me. And I mean, I was a young guy, okay? And I'm looking at this guy. I have no ego or anything. I just couldn't believe how they treated people. I watched this guy walk away, just kind of looked at me and just started walking away from me. And I stood there at the edge of the hall and watched him walk all the way down to the end of the building. And then he just looked back at me and waved at me to come, you know? And I said, okay, I can't do this.
Right.
I can't work for a place like this. And so I never worked for Disney. Now they're in charge of Star Wars.
Right.
So it's that kind of a place.
That's so crazy though, because it's like that was, you know, you were young, whatever it was, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and it's like that moment sticks with you, and like people don't forget stuff like that. And I never understand. Like, I don't care how big your company is. Like, I don't care. Like, just like be respectful.
Yeah, be excellent to each other. Be a decent human being. Yeah.
So
you don't forget that.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
it was a weird experience there.
Yeah.
So it always gave me a bad taste in my mouth. Oddly, they were right across all the shops. The makeup shops were in that area. So I would work around Disney off of Flower and Sonora in Burbank. Because Rick Baker's shop was right there. Spectral Motion was right down the street.
Right.
Kyoto Brothers were right down there.
Oh, we just met those guys.
We just met those guys. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah,
They're
nice
crazy dudes. Yeah.
They're so nice.
That was my first job. Yeah. That was my first job in, say, the Hollywood leaving animation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
TV animation. The Ghostbusters, Kyoto Brothers, all at the same time.
Very cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did you design with them? Just out of curiosity.
Cup of Noodles commercials.
Cool.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Yeah.
They were in Japan. I sculpted the prehistoric deer, a ground sloth, a squid, and I can't remember what else. Some other stuff. I think there was a Panasonic commercial that we did. We did a chameleon that I didn't know what I was sculpting, man. Honestly, until I saw the commercial, it was just a chameleon, and I thought a cartoony chameleon. Until I saw it in the commercial, and then there were all these Japanese kids riding on its back.
Oh God!
and it was flying through the sky, and it was for a Panasonic commercial. And I was
amazing.
I was like, what the hell?
Whoa!
That's great.
They're crazy. Yeah.
Before we wind down, I wanted to ask you. There's on your Instagram you have a design of what you refer to as Snow Kong, and you said it was for a failed Monster Universe concept. So could you talk about that? Because it's just, we all loved Skull Island, and we're excited about King Kong versus Godzilla and all that. I just was kind of wondering about that design because I really liked it a lot.
That was for there was an executive that was at I'll just leave it anonymous, at the big studio that owns the property.
Okay.
You can figure this out. Okay. And he's no longer there.
Okay.
But at the time, he was trying to get this idea of, because he came from a big animation house, right? And he had a history, of working and preparing pitches. So he understood how to get the groundwork laid out, so that way properties have a pool of assets to grab, And so for the Godzilla universe, he saw it coming. He wanted us to design, or he came to me to start designing characters that would be secondary characters for the Godzilla universe. So they would be the extra monsters that would be like, say, in Destroy All Monsters, right?
Right.
So that's where the Snow Kong came from. There would be a giant, abominable version of King Kong.
That's such a cool idea.
It was.
I want to see that.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, we sat there, drank coffee, and we were just shooting our guns in the air, man. I put my gold caps on my teeth and my bandoliers and my big velvet sombrero, and I was just shooting my guns. It was a hilarious conversation.
I like that.
I like that.
I'm in love with that. I want like an 18 by 24 print of that in the living room.
Yeah,
I just think it's very cool. It's very cool.
Very cool.
And are you involved going forward with the Monster Universe?
No, I actually have a funny story about this. I pitched Legendary Godzilla prior to them doing the film. Yeah, I came in with them. I worked on that. I had a job, but essentially I heard that there were rumors that they were going to start thinking about Godzilla at Legendary. And so I said, okay, I went off for a year. I just sat and just started working on the design, pulling all the Godzillas that I loved together and trying to see what would work structurally, how he could be, loose and really animated and still look like Godzilla. I didn't want to change him. I wanted it to be Godzilla.
Right.
But a really cool version, the very first black and white Gojira, but then pulling in some of the like Monster Zero Godzilla, you know, and I thought, well, what the hell? I got to do King Ghidorah, so I did King Ghidorah, but I laid him down on the ground. You know, I wanted him to walk on all fours and to be a real threat to Godzilla, and so I gave him all this stuff, and they just kind of looked at me and go, you know, shrugged their shoulders and go, that's cool. And then they went ahead and made their movie.
And then that was it. They were just like, thanks for sending us that. Cool. It looked great. I was looking at that stuff, and I saw that stuff before I even, you know, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so like that stuff that I saw that art whenever it was, you know, unveiled. Like some Godzilla websites put that out before I even knew, you know, put two and two together and knew who you were. But yeah, it looks good. And Ghidorah looks great with it, with his wings kind of on the ground like that. It makes a little more sense, you know, in like a real world kind of thing. And I mean, I guess we're gonna see what they're doing with that soon. But
well,
you know,
I worked on this last version that they're working on. I did the design for one of the characters. Yeah. So,
you can direct message me that later.
Yeah, Jake just did like a little winky face.
yeah, they're working on that one. You know.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
we can leave it at that. We don't have to.
Good.
That's all I can say about
That's all we need to know.
That's all. It's a fun.
I'll
tease.
tell you this.
That's fun.
I'll tell you this: the fact that they're doing King Kong versus Godzilla, and I probably won't be involved in that, is hurt. It actually is. That hurts a little because that's one of my favorite childhood movies. Is King Kong versus Godzilla and War of the Gargantuas, by the way. But now that I put it out in the air, someone's going to make it and destroy it.
You just said that.
Right.
They're working on it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Somebody I don't know that doesn't care about it.
Yes.
They're going to put out a documentary called "Destroy All of Carlos Huante's Monsters."
It'll be great.
And now that they're going to do it.
Right.
You just said it.
Now it's out. It's in the universe. Well, cool. Well, listen, we really appreciate you spending some time with us. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it again because I feel like all of us can talk literally all day about this stuff. And there's no shortage of movies being made. I mean, and all these old, like, at least sci-fi is not going anywhere. Like, all these old franchises are coming back, and horror movies are coming back. And we were just reading yesterday, we were going to talk about it this week or next week about, James Cameron's bringing Terminator back again and Linda Hamilton. So hopefully, we'll see what happens. You know,
Yeah.
On paper it sounds interesting, but then it's like,
Well, Dune is coming too.
Oh.
wow.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
and I hear that it could be with Denis again. Denis was on. I think he was talking to Legendary about that one. That was in the trades, so I can say that.
Right.
So, if that's the case, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Sicario.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should see it. I used to visit that area of Mexico like every other year because I had family there, and it was a nice place. And then when it went to the hell that it turned into, with all the gang activity there, that's where the movie actually is taking place in that period.
Oh, wow.
With all the gang activity. And it is pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie is good. Politically too, it just shows the politics of the police department and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's that movie is done really, really well.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. You should see that one.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's my favorite movie outside of Arrival that he's done.
Okay.
That one is really good.
Cool.
People always bring up The Prisoner and all these other movies, but Sicario is my favorite that he's done. It's real good.
Cool.
That's very cool.
We'll check that out. I mean, it's always fun to watch good movies.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah.
While I have you, I might as well ask. I have this prediction. I know you seem to be a fan of Ridley Scott. I hope the movie's great, but I don't think Blade Runner is going to do that well financially because I'm not getting the vibe that people are talking about it. And, I could be dead wrong. We haven't really talked about this on the podcast, so maybe I'm just speaking out of line at this point. But
I hope so. I mean, it's not a Ridley movie. I mean, he was involved only on the kind of on the outer kind of rim.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Denis Villeneuve movie. Okay. He's a director, and that dude, when he gets in, he's in charge of a film. It's his film.
Right.
He's a no nonsense dude.
Okay.
He does not play games. So it is his movie. Ridley is the producer on that, only because it's his I mean, essentially it's his property. Outside of the fact that he doesn't own it, I mean, the studio owns it, but that's his guy. I mean, that's his baby,
right?
But Denny is taking it. I mean, Ridley didn't even want to. He just looks at it as a fan film,
Right.
So, but I don't think Denny is seeing it that way. I did work on a sequence in that, and actually, it's in the trailer.
Oh.
You can see. We did it actually. That guy I was telling you about that. Hey, we could do it in a week.
Right.
Kind of a guy. Well, I brought him in on that one, and we did all when they're walking through that line of figures in those glass kind of cases. We did all that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
wow. Very cool.
It's not CG. Those are practical things that are really there. Cool. It's a pretty wild sequence, especially because of the way it was done.
Very cool.
So
cool. That's awesome. And I guess I should clarify. When I say I don't think it's going to do very well, I guess what I'm saying is that you see what I mean, Blade Runner has a cult following, but I don't know if mainstream audiences are going to flock to it the way that maybe they should. I guess that's
they might not. A lot of people might be looking at that, not really knowing what it is or knowing that it's a sequel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. No. I mean, I understand what you're saying. The first one, pretty much everyone hated it when it came out. I remember. I mean, I was literally defending it to everybody.
No, guys, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I go, you guys are idiots. It's good.
That sounds like Jay.
Time's gonna tell on this one.
Right.
I go, you guys will see. And that's what I tell everyone. You'll see. I'm right and you're wrong, but it might take a couple of years. No. But I knew that one was good. I think it was hard for people to see Han Solo in a drier take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
He was still really hot, really very much Han Solo, and they couldn't see him playing something else. It was hard for people to wrap their heads around it. I remember. So.
Right.
And they didn't like the movie. They just didn't get it.
Right.
People were really ripping on it. So.
Well,
what are you
we'll
gonna
see
do?
what Ryan Gosling can do. He can save it. We'll see.
I'm not a Ryan Gosling fan.
Yeah.
But I saw the trailer and I was really happy. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
The visuals are stunning.
people are gonna walk out and be like, I'm still attached to him in La La Land. I don't buy it, and they're just gonna walk out. hey, Carlos is gonna be outside of the theater going, guys, this is good. What are you doing?
What are you, idiots? I'll have my sign made already.
Yeah, what are you,
That's
bunch of
great.
losers?
He planned calling us idiots. Look, he wrote signs.
He made a sign. He printed it out. Well, listen. So we've got Carlos Huante. You can find him and his artwork on Instagram at Carlos_Huante, and then your other page with all your personal sketches is
Gallery Anatom.
Gallery Anatom, and
Yes.
man, we just really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Check it out, guys.
It sounds like you've got a wealth of stories. So we really would love to have you back on, and I think
Absolutely. I've enjoyed myself. This has flown by. So.
Yeah, I think our listening audience will
Like that flying chameleon that all the kids rode in that commercial.
Like the Japanese kids on the chameleon.
The flying chameleon.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, like I said, man, we just really appreciate your time.
Thanks for
and we appreciate the
sharing.
insight.
No, I appreciate you guys. I hope I made sense. It's very difficult to kind of describe some of the creative stuff, you know what I mean? And I realize that I kind of get, tongue-tied a little bit with a lot of that description.
Oh,
So it
no.
makes sense.
We're picking up at
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, don't realize the process of how a movie's made, or when you see a visual effect or a practical effect on screen, not realizing, the amount of time and effort put into, sketching it out and then doing, the artwork,
bringing it to life,
the production art, and
capturing it on screen.
the entire thing. So I think it's a really interesting process, and I just think it's awesome that you've got to make a career out of designing. We didn't talk about Batman Forever.
Oh my God! Yes.
We just think it's cool you worked on Batman Forever.
Yes.
We're like Batman Forever apologists.
Yes.
I like that movie.
I have like a screen accurate Riddler costume that I made with like sequence based on the end of the movie.
Love it.
Yeah.
Really?
Stop talking.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't stop talking
Dude,
about
I have like a
Batman
whole
forever.
shelf of like collectibles from the movie. So yeah.
That is very, very funny.
Yes. And I
That
specifically
is
like the
hilarious.
design of that movie and like the visuals and like the color palette. So yes, I'm actually a huge fan. There you
This
go.
is the first time I've come across anybody that actually liked that movie.
Oh, dude.
That's us.
Yes.
We're
I'll have to
against-
tag you.
Somebody's got to like it.
All right.
It's
yeah,
me.
We could have so talked about that.
Oh,
That's
I can
funny.
prove it. Yeah.
Well, maybe next time we'll have our we'll do a breakdown of Batman
Guilty pleasure.
Forever.
It'll be good.
It'll be
We'll
good.
talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I
Can't
got.
wait.
Yeah, there's stories maybe I can't share on that. But
Oh, but later after hours.
If it
yes.
involves Joel
Ooh,
Schumacher,
this
we
is
wanna
a
hear.
tease. I'm so
Oh yeah,
excited.
yes they do.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Oh boy.
I am
No,
so
they don't.
excited.
They don't. Joel, I swear.
Okay,
Have none.
Joel. Yeah, they don't involve Joel.
Joel, if
Schumacher.
you're listening, please call in. And,
Yes.
we'll,
Well, a couple things to talk about.
Oh yeah, we'll set you up. We'll have Joel Schumacher on the other line.
Yes.
Like, guess who's joining us? Just all.
I like it.
Well, Carlos, we appreciate it. We thank you very much, and we want everyone to go check out your artwork. And yeah, I'm sure Jake would appreciate just a couple Pennywise sketches in the mail.
send them right over. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
You guys were fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right,
Night,
you
dude.
too.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye, dude.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.